Hello there. How are you today? So, yeah, a kit a witch does not make. There's Sephora has started a starter witch kit, which I'm just been laughing about. Some people are really upset with it, and I can get where they're coming from at the same time. Oh my god, really. If you are unaware of the Sephora Starter Witch Kit, it is a witch kit that contains white sage, it appears, a crystal, some stinky stuff that I'm not sure what they are, if they're perfumes or oils, and a tarot deck for $42 plus tax if you have tax in your state, and shipping and handling, because it is not $50. So yeah, it doesn't give free shipping on Sephora. $2. So you got to buy, 10 extra bucks, 8 extra bucks to get. So it means you're buying 10. But yeah, so some people are kind of upset about it. I'm finding it hilarious. Silver Broomstick Raven Wolf Lady had her starter witch kit for teens. This is not a new concept. You can find them on Etsy. Frankly, the sourcing concerns me more than the actual kit. And the goopification, someone called it the goopification of spirituality too. But you know what? Really, it's more tangible than buying a relic. Relic sales in the Middle Ages, oh my god, relics were huge, huge, and probably fake, mostly. So, when you look at something like relic sales and the starter witch kit, I don't know which I find more disturbing, because the relics often were, whether it was someone truly thought it was or not. There are people out there that dealt in relics and sold them, and they weren't relics in early Christianity. So it's kind of the same thing in a way. Only no one's like, yeah, I got me a relic of Breed. It's the first person who popped in my head. Or, Ocean. Wherever. They got me this relic. But the point of this video is not necessarily that. There is a starter witch kit out there. The point is that a kit a witch does not make. Because you can buy all the starter witch kits in the world, and if you don't do the work, if you don't create a spiritual practice, you don't create a witchcraft practice, you don't create your ethics, you don't sit down and do the work that takes you into the place of magic, that takes you into a place where you can cross into worlds, where you can learn from other things, where you can listen to your spirit guides, and animal guides, and plant guides, stone guides. If you don't do the work, you're not really ever going to be a very effective witch, no matter if you identify with it or not. No kit will get you there. It might be fun. It might start someone on that path to deeper knowledge. Awesome. But the thing is, a starter witch kit, the only thing you actually need is your body. You need nothing else. And that is really where you should start with your magical workings, is forget the starter witch kit. You don't need that. This is the starter witch kit, your body. This is the original one, and you're bored with it. That's what you need. That's the only thing you need. Your will is contained in your finger, and you can point it at people. That's why, pointing is rude. You're pointing your will at someone. So when you think, I like my baubles. I like tarot decks. I like jewelry. I like rocks. I like crystals. But I don't need them. And I think that's the main thing to remember. When you set off, I think there's this desire for something more fulfilling, and people aren't sure what that is. So let's you see things like Starter Witch Kids on Sephora. It's better than a Dayglow rosary. But yeah, I find it kind of just funny because when it comes down to it, your body is the only thing you need to, yeah, it's really your Starter Witch Kit is your body. And that's all you really need to move into it, and a trust of self and intuition and remembering, knowing what you actually do know. Because I know for me, half of what it is, it's almost like a knowing. It's like a remembering happens. You know, it's like when I looked at that picture in the R.J. Stewart Underworld Initiation, and I saw Walking Worlds Chakra Expansion. I saw the worlds superimposed with the chakras of the ascension of the body and the ascension ones. Bam, right there. I just like, I knew there's this something. I knew this is bigger than. And so I started working with it. Starter Witch Kit didn't give me that. You know what got me that? Reading, studying, working with my energy, understanding systems, being a practitioner of yoga since my 20s. I remember pre-yoga boom yoga was like, yeah, it was interesting. It was very different than what it is today. Much more difficult not to have a home practice. It was very difficult to find classes, and Yoga Journal would like ask you to put stamps when you subscribed so they could say you know, whatever, like 22 cents. I don't remember what postage was back then, to stay in business a little bit longer. Now Yoga Journal's like freaking huge. It's things like that. It's long-term practices. It's long-term study. It's that love of mythology that started in 3rd grade. A willingness to walk through and observe nature as a child, to move through it. A willingness to find the magic in the city when I lived in a city. To find what was magical and what was natural sometimes. One place I lived, I'd walk down it. Every late August, fall, I started harvesting the neighbor's seeds. Pinch off a little pincushion head. Got me some pincushion flowers for next year. Harvesting seeds from the neighbors' gardens. That was one of the great things about living in the avenues. They had some really nice flowers in their front yard. And I would harvest the seeds. I found the natural within the cityscapes. I found the havens of that fountain down at the church office grounds in Salt Lake City. All you could hear is the water. You wanted to connect with water in Salt Lake City? It's a great place to go if they still have it. But the thing is, I didn't buy any of that. Okay, I bought some books. But especially pre-internet, you know, you really had to search. It was a lot harder before Amazon.com. You had to go find things out, seek them out. All you really need is you, and a willingness to sit quietly with yourself, to sit quietly with the world, and listen and find out what it is. You are the Starter Witch Kit. Your body is. Your brain is. You don't need the goods unless you want them. And you can afford them, and then, you know, how much stuff do we really need? Too is also like what comes to me. It's like, sure, it sounds fun, but where, you know, white sage is problematic. You know, people who, you know, it's traditional to are having problems getting it because other people are buying it up. Do you need to use white sage? I like rosemary and lavender personally. I grow both of them. I can harvest them myself. They smell very good, and both are cleansing. That's what works for me. Muck works nice too, but I don't have any of that in sticky form. Like Long can roll it up very easily for. I have it in tea form. But so just really remember that. Remember when you're like, you know, don't get caught up in the hype of something like a Sephora Star Kit. Raven Silver Broomwolf Lady also did it. It's been done 100 times. If you want to start a witch kit, I would go to Etsy and buy it from a small-time person and support a small business. If you want to start a witch kit, that's what I'd do. Create your own. Walk around. What speaks to you as you're walking? Take a walk. See what you find. Be intentional. Pay attention and see what is there. I was cleaning up my garden one year. I found a hummingbird skull. No idea. Tiny, tiny skull. I keep it nice and safe. I found it. I paid attention. Pick up rocks. What's speaking to me? Make crystal grids out of the rocks you find, not the rocks you buy. What is this piece of wood? I found a beautiful hunk of gnarly wood that sits on my client abundance grid. What can you find that speaks to you? And how can you use it magically? Sticks, stones, and bones are often free. You don't necessarily have to go buy what you need. You can find it. Use it. Intuit it. Use what you have. Stretch your creativity by doing that. You don't gotta buy it. You don't need a starter witch kit because you are your starter witch kit. Remember that. Most of all, you are the starter witch kit. You know, these fun things are just fun. They're focusers. Symbols do speak and have meaning. And they focus. They can take you somewhere else. That's why I like the cards, because people look at the pictures and it brings in context and meaning in different ways. So yes, those things do have a meaning, but how can you create your own meaning? Can you create your own context? Can you create your own symbols? And you do that by paying attention. You do that by using your starter witch kit of self, your body and your brain, and moving into those things. So, okay, enough of that. Remember, you are the starter witch kit, because a kit a witch does not make. You will be much more effective if you pay attention to what your body, your brain, your intuition, and your gut tells you. Than me, like, oh my god, I just bought the witch kit on Sephora. It's just, I find it absolutely freaking hilarious. Because, let me tell you a little story before I go. Okay, see, here's the thing. You're going to hit a point where you have enough sparkle, enough something. If you actually start doing that, you get your little Sephora witch kit. And then you kind of start playing with it, and you get a bit of a sparkle. You get a bit of a feel of like, oh, that's a magic person. So one day, I lived in Salt Lake for a long time, and I took public transportation. And it was a State Street bus. State Street buses in Salt Lake City, at least when I was living, oh my God, they're the worst. There's always a billion people on them. And they're just something about State Street. You get the odd, the crazy, it's just State Street buses. I don't know why. They're just challenging. They have the oddest people on them, and they often have a lot of people. None of the other streets have this problem. State Street just is that way. So I'm sitting there, just minding my own business. I think I was coming back from befriend my elderly lady visit. And this guy, this Latino man, steps in front of me. I'm sitting down. He's getting ready to exit the bus, and he holds out his hand to shake it. He's not moving. So I shake his hand. Then he doesn't want to give me my hand back. I'm just like, okay. Pretty much I knew that, this was a test of wills. It's like I'm going an initiation process. You're going to sparkling. And so we sat there, and meanwhile, just like, I blocked him off. No energy is getting in from him. He's trying to, not everyone who's a practitioner of some form of magical process is a nice person. Some of them are outright jerks, and some of them are going to challenge you. And it's not even necessarily that he's Latino. That is the issue. It's just that there are magical people out there that are jerks, and they're going to challenge you. And if you've got your starter witch kit, but you haven't really prepared yourself for these people who don't want to give you your hand back. And I remember saying to him, just like, internally I'm rolling my eyes, but you can't roll them externally because we're locked in a power. It's just silly, frankly. And they give me my hand back, give me my hand back. And then all of a sudden the bus driver, who is now getting annoyed because this guy's still standing there and has not exited the bus, finally says, "Are you getting off the bus?" And the guy gets off the bus. Thank you, bus driver, because it was getting kind of annoying. If you're not prepared for that person who's going to challenge you because you think it's all light and love, you're going to have problems. You do have to be prepared for the people who are not light and love. The people who are not going to work for your highest good and want to mess with you because they are out there. Whether it's as simple as trying to see if he can push you and test where you're at, power-wise, for lack of a better word. Strength, magical ability maybe would be a better way of putting it. So, people who are buying this kit also, you start to open up to that stuff, and these people see it and they're jerks. Some of them, not all of them, because frankly I wouldn't do that to you. I'd be like, ooh, that person's sparkly. Like when other things, like this was a nice thing as opposed to having to deal with Ruho Kindura. I don't know what he was. He was something, and he was Latino, and yeah. I got my hand back. I went home and richly washed my hands with salt and water, cleansed them, and was done with it. But what energy he may have residually left, go away. But on the other hand, you also have sweet things that happen, like these. I used to babysit for a few times for friends who had twins, and when the twins came up, he cupped my face with his hands like this, very gently. He said, "You're a witch." I said, "Why am I a witch?" He said, "Because you have sparkly things," and he didn't mean my jewelry. You have sparkly things. It was very, very sweet. So you also, on the other hand, have sweet things like that happen, where the child's like, "You're a witch because you have sparkly things." I mean, I have things that surround me, my energy force, and what I work with. And so, yeah. So you get both. But, if you're getting your starter witch kit off Sephora and ignoring the actual one you already have, things can kind of get a little hairy at times. So be prepared. People, remember, you're your witch kit. Practice, spiritual practice, knowledge, learning, use, know-how, trust of self and intuition are going to get you farther than buying a pre-made kit off Sephora. And if you want a kit, go look on Etsy. They have tons of them. There's some really, really cool ones that are much less commercial. And you get to support a small business, which is much more cool. Alrighty, I have babbled on enough about the subject. Everyone have a wonderful day, and go out there and be the love in the world.